what's very interesting is to look at the history. I find that just amazing. Between 1949 and 1966, there were no mass shootings. Between 1966 and 1984, there were no mass shootings. Starting in 1984, they became more and more frequent until now they are very frequent. There have been 152 in 2017. Huge. And there's a wonderful book by Mark Ames called Going Postal. And it looks at the beginning of what happened with mass shootings
in the 1980s.
In 1984 was the first big one. Right. It's called Going Postal because it began with the post office, a rash of shootings at the post office, because Reagan was the first to start smashing up the American dream, to start smashing up the unions with the traffic control workers and others, to start changing the estate tax and the taxation rate on the wealthy to make the middle class and the lower pay it all. And what the post office had a powerful union, 30,000 people, very progressive union. And Reagan began just about before these killings, substituting the supervisors who used to be elected from among the ranks and understand what went on, with business school graduates who saw the postal workers in an adversarial way, pushing them harder and harder to do more and more, and promoting those who complied, creating enormous rage. It was the beginning of the crunching down of the working class. And with that, the rage at not being able to make a living, have a decent job, have control over your life, that you could see, okay, I'll do my job, I'll do it well, I'll be connected in this job, in this union, I will then retire, I will have a pension, I will support my wife and children. Their dreams will be greater than mine. I'm a blue collar, they'll be a white collar. I'm a white collar, they'll be a professional. That's dead. That doesn't happen anymore. And
so the argument
their male perk of being, I am a man, I support my family, that's over.
So that the argument you're making that comes from Ames is that, in a sense, the post office crisis and explosion, we didn't know it then, but was a harbinger of what was going to happen in a wider and wider range of jobs, particularly in well-paid blue-collar work, but also in other professions, driving, people to feel, particularly white men, disconnected from the workplace and the work culture, and also dethroned at home. Because what I appreciate so much about what you're telling us is that the economics and the psychology are being brought into the story. We're not being left with the empty statement, it's evil, or the empty blaming of the individual. No one is going to defend Mr. Paddock for the horrible damage he did. But this is, because of the history you've shown us, this is a social problem. This is affecting large numbers of people, even though there are particular reasons why this individual or that individual is the one who blows up finally. If we don't deal with the social problems, we're allowing the pressures then to build up that will explode in one or another individual on a growing scale, as you've shown us has already happened.
I absolutely agree. And one of the things that Mr. Paddock illustrates is a problem that American men have. Usually their only emotional connection is with their sex partner. And if she leaves, they're utterly disconnected. As the country music song says, you've been thinking and I've been drinking. Now, male alcoholism is going way up along with drug abuse, but that one of the things that happens is that men are emotionally disconnected, especially if they're not working and even having the camaraderie on the job, even if it isn't intimate divulgences and secrets. It's a sense of being part of something. This man had not been working on a job for 30 years. And his girlfriend was in the Philippines I don't know whether she was leaving or whatever, but she certainly, she
wasn't with him.
She sure wasn't with him. And that women, when they have an emergency, connect. They've found, because they always used to only study men, that the fight and flight idea when something's terrifying in women is fright and connect. When women are in trouble, they connect with their women friends, and they usually have stronger bonds emotionally with other women than they do with their husbands. They connect with their families. They connect with their children so that they are not emotionally abandoned when they're not on the job. And usually they describe the killer not only as a white and a male, but a loner. Doesn't talk to his neighbors, doesn't have friends, disconnected from his family. He hadn't talked to one brother for 20 years. The other was a couple of years when he had inquired about his mom's health. That he's a disconnected man, because connection is crucial to mental health. And there's a toxic idea that you're not a real man if you cry, if you need support, if you need help, if you reach out to others. And that is a terrible blight, particularly as men have been dethroned from their white male family wage status, because they don't get a family wage.
So their lack of connection is happening historically at the same time that their job and home situations put them in greater need of connection than ever before. That is right. An unbelievable pressure on these people, and it begins to make it remarkable that there aren't more explosions of violence or whatever, and the gun is simply the mechanism for the expression of all of this.
And taking back your manhood, revoke your manhood, take back your manhood, reinstate your manhood, because it's associated. They're taking men who are feeling dethroned and unmanned, and they're giving them the masculinity back with a gun by saying, this is about your freedom. This is about your manliness. This is about your right to defend your family. This is about reinvoking your manhood, giving it back. This is me. And people are desperate. There have been 152 mass shootings in 2017, and we're not even done. We have 4 more months, but that it's really no wonder. And that has to be looked at rather than this is pure evil, which is what Trump said quite conveniently. It's also ironic that the NRA, which did give Trump $30 million and is politically pushing this point of view, they even have a target you can order from the NRA called the ex-girlfriend target, where you shoot it and it starts to bleed until its face is demolished and its whole body is blown away. They don't have a comparable boyfriend target because it's overwhelmingly a male thing. And ironically, they started this harvest festival, Route 91 Harvest Festival, to give the NRA a gentler image by starting a country music festival. And it was at this festival that 59 people were killed and 515 were wounded, many critically.
What do you think should be done?
Well, I think first of all, it's rather a broken record with me. People need a movement. What Bernie started has to be built. There has to be an alternative where people can come together and say, this is our land. This land is your land. This land is my land, as Woody Guthrie said. And that it doesn't belong to the bankers who happen to own most of it in property. We can take it back. We can take it back as we did in the New Deal. We can take it back with the tax rate on the top that is the 94.8% tax rate. We can take those 2.3 trillion that are in overseas investments back. The Canary Islands are not going to set out a military force to oppose us.